Hi, and welcome to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. I'm Dupe Witherick, alcohol free wellbeing and transformational coach, and the best selling author of A Cocktail of Clarity, How to Ditch Drinking, Embody a Joyful New Identity, and Thrive Alcohol Free. This podcast will show you that being alcohol free is not what the traditional narrative says. And even though alcohol is so ingrained in our society that it is okay to give yourself permission to stop drinking if you want to. And you do not have to wait until you hit rock bottom. It is certainly not boring, and I believe ditching drinking is just the start to living an extraordinary life. By getting rid of this one thing, it allows the doors to open to endless possibilities and opportunities. Each week, we will have guests on who are at various stages of the alcohol-free journey, from those who are curious to those who have been alcohol-free for years. We will also have experts on talking about different topics relating to alcohol and beyond. Through these conversations, you will discover what it means to thrive alcohol-free. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the podcast. I'm so pleased that you are here, and I hope you are having a wonderful week. It's great that you're here. So this week, I have a fabulous guest on, and so we'll get to that. But before that, I was reflecting on, I was at an event last week, a women's event with women founders, and I was talking to someone who was asking me about how did I cope when I became a mother? How did I balance things out? And how did I manage? And it made me think about the whole mummy wine culture and how we get sucked into it. So I thought I'd talk a bit about that before we go to my guest later. So I thought I'd tell my story and my version of it, because I think a number of women who become mothers do get sucked into the mummy wine culture. And I always reflect on why that is and what the reason is. And if I think back, I've got a 10-year-old daughter, well, 10 and a half. She was 10 and a half a couple of days ago, which she reminded me of. So obviously it was a while ago now, and I was drinking then as well. And I remember my last drinking escapade before I found out I was pregnant was we went to Ascot for the day, which was amazing. We had this fabulous day. We all got dressed up. I had a hat and I was wearing a lovely dress with a little furry shawl thing. And yeah, it was a fab day with friends, but we drank lots of champagne. And we were somewhere in this private clubby thing, and it was fabulous. And the champagne was flowing, and we watched the races. And I think we probably put some bets on. I can't remember if we won anything, but it was a really, really good day out. But we did drink lots of champagne. And then I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, oh my goodness, wow, amazing, obviously. But then at the same time, the reality of not drinking was there. And it was a non-negotiable. You just don't think about it. So we all say, oh, I can't take a break from alcohol. But actually, when you've got a baby growing in you, you take a break and you don't think about it. And yeah, there might be the odd occasion where you think, oh, yes, that would be quite nice. But you never actually have a drink. And there's a reason for that. But then ironically, towards the end of the pregnancy and you're getting to the birth, your brain switches again and you start thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to be so wonderful to have a glass of champagne to celebrate the birth. And it kicks off again. And then I think people have various experiences when it comes to pregnancies and births. And so I can only talk about my experience, but the pregnancy for me was okay on the whole, apart from ending up in hospital about week 14. But that's another story. And then the birth was horrendous. It was, yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It wasn't good, but I won't go into the details on this one. I might write about it at some point. But everyone has a different experience. And I think afterwards, you're in a bit of shock. You've got this little thing that you're responsible for, and you're basically given responsibility for a small human. And none of us has a manual. I know there are lots of books, but there's no real manual. You work through it and you do your best and you try to work it out. And so I absolutely understand and get it when people then think, well, actually, my body's not feeling myself. I'm not feeling myself. I've got this human. I'm at home with the baby all day, potentially, and actually, this is hard. It's quite tricky. And then you meet other mums, and some of them seem like they're doing amazingly well, others not so much, and form groups and allegiances. We've got something called SNCT here, which is the National Childbirth Trust. And I always joke it's you pay for friends, and that's effectively what you're doing. It's a group that you join, it's like an antenatal group, and you do that just before the baby arrives, and you have an instant group of women or mothers and fathers who are your friends for that period of time because you're all going through the same thing at the same time. So I'm digressing, but I think what happened for me personally was I remember having a glass of champagne to celebrate the birth, and I wasn't breastfeeding. And so actually, I could have a glass of something if I wasn't feeling great, or if by the end of the day, when my husband got back from work, I was like, oh, I need a drink to relax now. You take over. And yeah, anyway, I think you get into that. But for me, the biggest change and shift was when I went back to work. So I was lucky enough to have about a year off work for maternity leave. And I remember going back and thinking, I want to be able to do it all. I want to be at the top of my game. I want to still get promoted. I want to still be a good mummy, but I want to really prove myself and show that nothing's changed and I can do everything. And I absolutely believe you can. You can do it all. You can do everything, but there needs to be balance there in order for you to be able to do that. And you need to look after yourself. And so for me, as soon as I got back to work, I hit the ground running. I did 4 days a week for the first month or so, and then I was working 5 days a week. I was trying my best to obviously do as much as I could and work as hard as I could so that I could prove that I still had it and I still was able to do it and I could keep up with all the men. And on reflection, that wasn't a great way to be. And by the time this was about January, February time, by the time June, July came, I was pretty burnt out. I was exhausted because I was trying to be a good mum. I was trying to do well at work. I was trying to exercise. But I think mentally, I was just not quite there. And I think the reason was I would get home and I would have a glass of wine. And that wasn't every day, but that was the way to relax, to de-stress, to just say, right, this is the end of the day now. I've done my best. I picked up my daughter from nursery and she's now asleep. So this is mummy time. This is my time. And I think so many of us do it. So many of us want to reward ourselves. And we think that drinking is the key. And so I was there, but I do think that one, we need to be so kind to ourselves. And if I was to repeat it again, I certainly wouldn't be putting as much pressure on myself as I did. So if you're about to have a baby or you've got a little one now and you're thinking, I need to do it all, and you're feeling guilty about not doing anything very well, you're not alone, but please, please be kind to yourself. And the other thing I would say is actually in hindsight, benefits of not drinking and all the tools that I've learned around self-care, self-love, alcohol-free toolkit to enable me to find balance and to breathe and to manage my emotions better and to just take time out for myself and to find things that aren't just work and to realize that I'm not one-dimensional. I'm not just my work and my family. I am a lot more than that has been a game changer. And so I encourage you today, if you are finding yourself in this mummy wine culture, and again, it doesn't help if you have a group of friends who all drink, and that was my case as well. And so actually, when we all got together and did girls' nights, you would have a glass of wine because that's how we all unwound. And I remember one of the ladies in the NCT group, she had her 40th. It was earlier in the year, but she ended up celebrating in that summer. And that August was the first time we all went out, the partners as well as us girls, and we all went out and we had, for her 40th birthday, she had a big party. And we just felt like we were unleashed. We were allowed to really let our hair down and just have fun. And it was a really, really fun night. We laughed, we danced. It was really, really good. But we all felt absolutely rough the next day. And we all had babies the next day. We had babysitters, and my parents came to look after our daughter. And but the next day, you're up and back on it. And it wasn't great. And having been the first time that we'd really gone out and drank a bit, it was a bit of a shock to the system. So anyway, I would say it is tricky if you've got friends who do it. So it's all about getting support, surrounding yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. So by being alcohol free, I say it all the time, you're not giving up anything, you're only gaining. And there is another way. And actually, tools that I coach, such as breath work, such as emotional freedom technique, such as affirmations, and various things that put you in the right mindset and then helping you to create a life that you really want to live, which doesn't involve alcohol, where alcohol is insignificant, is so important to me, because then you can just have a balanced life. And it's not stressful to look after your child. It's not stressful to go to work. You have the mindset and the toolkit and everything that you need that supports you, and the resources you need that support you to just live the best life that you want to live on your terms. And so if you are looking for that, if you are wanting to escape the mummy wine culture, if you want to find tools that will help you in a high stressed work environment, first things first, ditch the booze, ditch drinking, because alcohol exacerbates stress, anxiety, depression, and it doesn't help. And it's an addictive substance. So the more we drink, the more it becomes something that we use more regularly. So I would say if any of this resonates and you want to change and you want to make a difference and you want to change your habits and your mindset and your behaviors so that you can make alcohol insignificant, so you can enjoy work, motherhood, anything that life throws at you, then coaching is going to help you through that. And I use so many tools, and even through powerful questioning and just giving you space to think and time to think, your life changes and you will start to go within and realize exactly what you want and remember what you enjoy and shift your mindset when it comes to what you want to be and who you want to be in life. So if any of that resonates, feel free to get in touch and book a ditch drinking discovery call. If you're already on the alcohol-free journey, I also coach people to manage their emotions, to release anger, to really get to learn their core values, to manage, to have tools that can help in high stress work environments or high pressured environments. I also help you to set goals and reach those goals. And I am really a sounding board for you. So either way, book a call. And if it's not about drinking, then obviously let's talk about where you are now that you're not drinking and where you want to be. And I'm happy to do that as well. But I'm looking forward to speaking to you. And I have opened up some coaching slots. So it's September. It's always a great time to reflect and it's that back to school feeling. So if you want to make any changes, you've got 4 months till the end of the year. We get to the 1st of January, you could be an absolutely different person. So feel free to book a call with me. Let's have a 30-minute conversation, see where you are and how I can potentially support you if you'd like to work with me. So that's that. And I'm excited for you. Okay, so talking about mindset and creating a life that you love, I have the wonderful Reese Evans on the podcast today. And I met Reese back in February, I think, February or March time. And she's an amazing, amazing woman. And I've been working with her. And yeah, she's just really, really positive. And I know you're going to be inspired. by this conversation is slightly different conversation. But Reese Evans is a mindset and abundance coach. She's the creator of Yes Supply Method and is on a mission to teach the world the power of their subconscious mind, energetics, and the universal laws to create the life that you're truly meant to live. So she spent most of her life riddled with limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, and saying no to herself for far too long. Everything changed when she realized that the magic was in saying yes to herself and truly going after her dreams. She began to embody a full body yes in every area of her identity, belief, and energy, and everything she dreamed of began to manifest. So by working with the power of the subconscious mind with coaching techniques such as neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, emotional freedom technique tapping, and energy work, she's found the formula to make incredible change permanent. And she is on a mission to spread the message that our inner power is infinite. And we all have the ability to create a life of fulfillment, meaning, love, and purpose. And she now trains hundreds of people in her Yes Supply Method coaching certification to create massive positive impact as mindset, manifestation, relationship, and business coaches by equipping them with the tools to help more people release what's holding them back and create quantum leaps in their lives. And so it's a wonderful conversation with Reese, and she's so wise, and I'm sure that you will get some great tips and tricks from this conversation and hopefully say yes to yourself. So without further ado, here is the conversation with Reese. So welcome, Reese. Thank you so much for being on the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. It's lovely to see you. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Dupe. I'm so excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, maybe for those who don't know you, why don't you maybe introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm Reese. I'm the creator of Yes Supply. So Yes Supply is a personal development brand, and we empower ambitious high performers to say yes to themselves. I found in my own life, there was a time where I felt like I was in a rut. I couldn't get out of this rut, and I was so worried that my tomorrow was going to look like next week, was going to look like next month, was going to look like next year. And I asked myself, how could I stop this repeating pattern of feeling so stuck? And one of the things that I realized was nobody was going to give me an opportunity unless I created it for myself. And so I stopped saying no to myself. I stopped limiting myself and limiting my potential. And I started to think about, what would I ask for if I knew the answer was going to be yes? What would expansion look like for me? What would abundance look like for me? And when I started to expect that that could come into my life and shift my mindset and my energy to align to it, incredible things happened. I've improved my health. I am made millions of dollars in my business. I've done so many incredible things. And it's truly the power of saying yes to yourself. And so my mission, my purpose is to empower more people to say yes to themselves, a full body yes, which means reprogramming your subconscious mind and your energy to align to the life that you want.
Amazing, amazing. And you've helped so many people do that, which is
Thank you.
incredible. So, this is obviously Thrive Alcohol Free. And I know you don't drink alcohol. You've seen the benefits and you'll advocate the benefits of not drinking. So, maybe tell us a little bit about what made you stop drinking alcohol and the benefits that you've seen.
Yeah, it's so funny. As I was telling you before, I feel like my story won't be as exciting as maybe some of the other stories that you have on here. But I remember when I decided, like, I don't want to drink alcohol anymore. I don't need it. I was actually flying to a personal development conference with Bob Proctor, who's now passed away, but he's a manifestation legend. I was flying to a conference and I literally just got the download. I'm a big follower of intuition. And so I literally just got the download. I don't want to drink alcohol anymore. And just like that, I made the decision. And now, in hindsight, when I think back, I think it was like a change in consciousness because I had been doing so much personal development work, improving my life, improving my abundance, growing my business, everything like that. And I think that I had just shifted my identity so much that alcohol and those types of vices just didn't fit into my identity anymore. Me being a mindset coach, I literally use my brain. In hindsight, it's like, why would I input something in my body that can be damaging to the way that I think? Many people and me in the past, you drink and the next day you wake up feeling like a piece of poop and it ruins your whole next day. And I'm just so excited about the things that I'm doing and the people that we're helping. I just realized that I didn't really have a need for it. It's funny because a lot of people experience the societal pressures of it. And I've worked with many students who have used some of our subconscious tools to release taking alcohol as well. And it's so funny because as soon as I decided not to, many of the people in my life, we had a party at my house soon after, and people were like, "What? What's wrong with you? Why aren't you? Da, da, da. Are you hiding something?" Da, da, da. So people always assume the worst case scenario. And I think we're
Mm.
just so like society as a whole is so programmed to think that alcohol has to be a part of our lives and is tied to celebration. It's hard to imagine that you can live a life without it, but actually you can, and it can be great. And many of my clients who are very powerful manifestors and very easy manifestors, I really do notice a correlation that they don't drink either.
Mm. And yeah, I mean, it's so ingrained in our society, isn't it? So when people reacted that way to you, how did you feel about that? Because a lot of people, a lot of clients, and a lot of people who are probably listening, that's one of the reasons they don't stop or that they really struggle because of what other people think and what other people say and what they think they need to be because that's what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. For some of those people, I feel like it was a projection. Alcohol can become, even if you're not, addicted to alcohol, alcohol can kind of become a dependency, a safety protocol when you're out in a social situation, you don't know what to do. Like when you walk into an elevator and someone else is there and you don't know what to do, so you just scroll on your phone so you don't have to talk to them. Alcohol can kind of be that same way. You go out to a party and you just drink until you kind of feel a little bit more funny and you feel like you can be a life of the party. So I think that there's a lot of beliefs around it. And underneath that all is like projections of, is it even possible to do this? Like, can I do this? It's funny that we're actually having this conversation today because I have a friend that just came over to my house on the weekend and we've been friends since I was at my old 9 to 5 job, even before I started Guest Supply. And when I met her, she was into health a lot. She was dieting a lot. And it was a tech startup. So a lot of people were drinking on Fridays, and the company actually provided alcohol for free. And one of my friends at the time wasn't drinking, and someone from the company literally cornered her and is like, "Why aren't you drinking?" Da, 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 da. And then later on in the evening, ended up breaking down crying because he's like, "I'm struggling with it." So I think what
Mm.
happens is we've all kind of been unconsciously programmed to just do this thing because we watch a lot of movies and people are drinking in the movies and people are drinking in the
Mm.
commercials and they're laughing while they're doing. So we're thinking and associating it with fun.
Mm.
And we're not even actually questioning, do I need this? Does it even
Mm.
taste good? Because when you
Yeah.
taste alcohol without the sugar and the juice, it doesn't even taste good. And we can start to question, like, am I doing this because I actually want it, or am I doing this because I've been programmed to do it? And a lot of, things that I've done in my life, I've been able to do because I've questioned first and foremost the programming that I'm following, and then ask myself, is this actually the right path for me? And then adjust.
Hmm. And so is that how you stop drinking? You literally use that
Yeah, it was
those
just one
tools.
day. Like I follow my intuition for a lot of things. You and I were just talking about this
Yeah.
too. And so one day I was flying to a personal development conference and I just said,
Mm.
I don't think I want to drink anymore. And that was it. I just
Amazing.
made the decision.
Amazing.
As someone who works in mindset, I think it's better for my brain. I have a lot more clarity. I lost 60 pounds postpartum. And if people are drinking, that's adding on to calories, like so many different
Mm.
things. So it's just, I think it's easier without it.
Yeah. And so I was going to actually ask you that, and you mentioned a couple, clarity and losing weight, but what other benefits have you seen by not drinking? You talked about manifestation as well, and why don't we maybe talk a bit about what manifestation and how potentially not drinking would help? Because I've had people on before on the podcast who talked about the power of not drinking and manifesting. So I'd love to get your perspective.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of speculation on it. And unless someone can see into the spiritual realm, nobody knows for sure. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of speculation or theories that drinking alcohol could actually lower your vibration. So we know that manifesting, if we want to manifest what we want, we have to get clear on what it is that we want and then align our energy to the energy that it's already done. But when we're drinking alcohol, it lowers our vibration. So it takes us off the vibration of the life that it is that we want. And we can feel it emotionally and we can feel it physically, right? The next day too, let's say you're a motivated individual and you're like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to do this project. I'm going to plan something creative, but then you're hungover. You're not going to be in the energy of taking inspired action anyway. So it's just, our life is often created by our decisions, and it's just creating a decision that's not guiding you in the direction of what it is that you want. So if I'm somewhere social, I just get a sparkling water with lime. I think it tastes fine. I can still have a drink in my hand and I can just talk about what it is that I actually want to talk about rather than talk about what's being dictated by the drink in my hand. Some other people have said that alcohol comes from a word, what was it, body eating spirit or soul eating spirit?
Body eating spirit. Alcohol in Arabic is body eating spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's creepy.
It
Creepy.
puts you off.
And and you see it because people can have physical side effects of drinking. You can see it in their skin, you can sometimes see it in someone's nose, you can see it in the organs. So I could see why it is that word. And it does, you can do things that you didn't know that you were even doing. So I was never a big drinker. If I would go out, I would have a drink or two, I think max three. Like I was never, even back when I would drink, someone who enjoyed getting drunk. I would just like have a little one. But I remember for my cousin's bachelorette, I was the maid of honor. And so I felt, and this was probably over 10 years ago, I felt like it was my responsibility to be the life of the party. So I did actually get drunk and I was just being so silly. I remember I was like feeding my cousin in the elevator with my salad, going Operation, like that game Operation. And then, yeah, when we came back to my home, I apparently fell and I broke the glass door of my shower and woke up the next day and I was like, who broke this glass door? And my cousins and friends were, Reese, I think it was you. So it's true. It's literally ate my body. I didn't know what my body was doing. And it was doing all these crazy things. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge advocate for not drinking. Loads of benefits, and they just get better
Yeah.
over time. So,
And there's so many yummy like mocktails now. There's so many things that you can do instead. So
yeah.
it's easier to make the change.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I'd love to maybe talk about the subconscious because you mentioned about having that conscious decision of saying I'm
Yes.
not actually going to drink and it was intuitive, but you do a lot of work with the subconscious and obviously 95% of our day is really run by our subconscious. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that for a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone's wanting to make a change in any area of life, whether it's health, whether it's money, whether it's relationships, like you said, our subconscious mind runs over 95% of our daily actions, behaviors, emotions, decisions. So if you're struggling to make a change because it feels hard to stay disciplined or it feels hard to have that willpower, that is a clear signal that it's time to do subconscious reprogramming. Because when you reprogram the subconscious mind, you no longer need willpower because your subconscious mind is just programmed to do that thing, right? So this is where you would think about, okay, so if somebody wants to stop drinking, they can think about, okay, who would I be if I already had stopped drinking? So maybe you see yourself as a healthy person. Maybe you see yourself as maybe someone invested in your personal development. Maybe you have beliefs around how much you value your body and what you put into your body. So you can essentially make a list of that self-image that you have, the values around not drinking and maybe choosing healthier options, how you see, how you treat your body, you make that list of it and you can program it into your subconscious mind. So perhaps you can program in the belief that I value my body so much that I only choose to consume healthy things, or I value my time so much that I choose to minimize my drinking or not drink at all so that I have my whole Saturday and Sunday instead of feeling tired and laying on the couch, right? But here's the thing, the subconscious mind, it takes a picture of whatever it is that you say. So if I say alcohol-free person, I'm still putting that image of alcohol in my mind. So I'd rather just think of like, who is that person when they don't even think about alcohol? They don't even care about alcohol. So maybe you see yourself as a healthy person. Maybe you see yourself as a Pilates enthusiast. Maybe you see yourself as a marathon runner. Like I know you run marathons, right? So you just choose that new identity that's not even tied to it at all. And then you can, once that's programmed in, you'll go through your life and you realize, oh, it's been days, weeks, months, years. I haven't even thought about it. So on my YouTube channel, I interviewed one of our students who this is what happened to her. She went through my coaching certification to improve her life and learn the subconscious tools. And then what she realized was she was kind of having an unhealthy version, unhealthy relationship with alcohol. It wasn't like many of the people listening, it wasn't an addiction, it wasn't anything heavy, but she realized that she was just making choices that didn't actually align to what she wanted. She was making choices that were a byproduct of the pressures of people around her, like, oh, I'll have another one, instead of what she really truly wanted for herself. So she used some of the techniques that we teach. She used the swish technique to swish into the identity of a healthy person. And she used, there's one other tool. I think she might have used neural energetic encoding. So she went to the root cause of why do I need this validation from other people? Or why am I accepting this judgment from other people, doing what they want me to do rather than what I want to do? And releasing that helped her release feeling that pressure to drink. And then when she was out, she could just say, no, I'm okay with water, or I don't need anything. So it was tuning herself back into who she really wanted to be rather than submitting to what the people around her wanted her to be. So it's
Yeah.
powerful because something that people might think would take them weeks or months or years to change, when the language of the subconscious mind, it can take minutes, it can take 10 minutes, it can take 20 minutes, right? So shifting this is why I'm so passionate about teaching how the subconscious mind works, because my whole life I lived in an abusive home. I always felt very different being a woman of color, like one of the few women or people of color at my schools growing up. I always felt very different. I had a lot of emotions and I didn't know how to deal with them. And so it would get me into bad situations. It would get me in dead end jobs. It would get me in toxic friendships. And after I learned the language of the subconscious mind, I learned NLP, I learned hypnosis, I learned how to reprogram my subconscious. I was actually a little bit mad. I was like, how did I go through my whole life and nobody ever taught me this? Nobody ever taught me that I can just speak to my subconscious mind in a certain way and change the way I feel, change the way I see myself, change how I show up in the world, increase my confidence, increase my belief in myself. And so if somebody's trying to change, but they don't know the language of the subconscious, it's like going to a French restaurant and trying to order in English. You probably can't say what it is that you want. You might not get your point across. You might get a completely different order, or you might not get the order at all. But if you learn the French language and you go into that same restaurant and you say exactly what you want, s'il vous plaît, then you get exactly what it is that you want. And so when the language of the subconscious mind, you can use it to change anything from relationships to money to health, and the list goes on.
Yeah, amazing. And it's so helpful for people to know that. And I absolutely agree that identity as well will allow you to shift the subconscious mind, knowing, really being clear on that identity. And so
Yeah,
you talked about it earlier about people saying, I want to be a healthy person, as opposed to I don't want to drink alcohol. That's a really interesting shift, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people say to themselves, I don't want to drink, but actually it's a little bit like saying don't think about blue elephants, and then actually you do,
exactly.
you end up thinking about the blue elephants. So our words are powerful, aren't they?
Exactly. Yeah. And all of this work, it just opened me up to how much we're programmed. Actually, it's funny, just before we were on our call, I opened up social media and it said someone did an experiment where a few people were going to dinner or lunch, and they strategically had social media influencers eating this certain dish, billboards showing the certain dish, the screen in the taxi taking them there was showing the certain dish. I think it was a certain fried chicken or something like that. And they were trying to influence that group of people to
Mm.
order the chicken. And all
Mm.
those people that went to the restaurant ordered that chicken, right? So out of
Wow.
50 items on the menu, they all ordered that chicken. So the
Yeah.
question is, did they make that decision for themselves? Or did they make that decision because the billboard and the taxi ad and the influencer all programmed them to want it? And I
Mm.
think that that really is the same question that we can ask ourselves about a lot of the things that we're consuming, because when you really pay attention to how alcohol is marketed, you look on the TV and it's like people are like cheersing and they're smiling. So we
Yeah.
think, oh, the alcohol must make them happy. No, no, no. It's actually the celebration that makes you happy. It's celebrating
Yeah.
the wedding that makes you happy. It's
Yeah.
celebrating the graduation that makes you happy. It's not the alcohol, but because we're seeing all of these pictures of it tied together, it anchors us to believe that.
Mm.
So I think the question for everyone is just take a step back and ask themselves, do I really want this for me? Or am I making
Mm.
decisions based on the programming, the marketing that has been targeted to me? Because these companies are spending a lot of money to market to different subsections of society and different demographics.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And it was actually in I think the late 80s, 90s, where the alcohol companies, big alcohol, suddenly realized that women weren't really drinking alcohol. They'd always been targeting men, and men had been drinking, obviously, alcohol, but they wanted to get more sales. And so that's when a lot of the alco pops and the more palatable drinks for women started coming out. And so there's a
Yeah.
generation, I'd say the younger generation are a lot better when it comes to drinking and actually feeling they have more of a choice. But certainly my generation and older, we were targeted with the whole Sex in the City, with Bridget Jones and all of those things, which were all about ladettes in the UK, where the girls were keeping up with the boys and you can drink as much as the men. And so all of those things have been programmed, as you say, and we've never questioned it. And so for me, I probably knew for a few years before I stopped drinking that I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't helping me in any way. I didn't really want to do it. But the thought never crossed my mind that I could stop because I'd be ostracized or I would be boring or there would be reasons why I shouldn't stop. So again, really changing and thinking it through and asking the question, I think is really helpful because we can just get so caught up in what's around us that we never really take the pause and step back and say, is this real? Is this really what I want to do? Is this, I am allowed to make different choices? And it's sometimes giving yourself permission, isn't it? And
Mm-hmm.
again, that comes back to the mindset piece, the mindset work that you do.
Yeah, and a big part of it too is giving ourselves the chance to heal our emotions, because a lot of the time why we're reaching for that external thing is because of an emotion, whether it's emotional eating, whether it's numbing through scrolling with social media. A lot of the time there's an emotion that comes first, and then we reach for that external thing. So it might be, I feel bored. I feel
Mm.
lonely. I feel stressed because I have to complete this certain task. I feel
Mm.
overwhelmed and I don't know what to do next. So I'm just
Mm.
gonna eat. You know, like how many of us eat out of boredom, or I'm
Yeah.
just gonna scroll because I feel overwhelmed, or I'm just gonna reach for something to consume. But when we address that emotion preemptively, then that emotion won't come up in that same way and we won't need to numb it with something external. We healed
Mm.
it. And I believe that a big reason why we're here on this planet Earth, this like school of a planet, is for us to learn the lessons that we need to learn and for us to heal. So every opportunity when that big emotion comes up, we have a choice. We can reach for something external and wait for it to pop up again, because it will continue to pop up again. Or we can look at it and say, why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling like I'm not good enough? Why am I feeling inadequate? Why am I feeling lonely? And we can address that feeling inside. And when we've healed that and we become more whole, we won't need that external thing as much. And
Mm.
I believe that that's why a lot of my students who want to lose weight will lose weight in my courses without even actively trying to lose weight. It's because they healed the emotion that was causing them to emotionally eat, right? If you're emotionally eating, it's because of
Mm.
emotion. When you heal that
Mm.
emotion, you don't need to emotionally eat. And that
Mm.
might save you 200 calories a day, 300 calories a day, 500 calories a day, who knows?
Yeah.
And then the weight drops off because they're not reaching for an external thing to not feel. They felt it, they processed it, they moved through it, and now they feel better. They're
Mm.
more in love with their life now.
Yeah. Amazing. And so maybe talk through the courses you offer and what people, how people can, sign up to them.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening and you're feeling like you want to learn the language of your subconscious mind, you want to be able to do it to improve your own life, maybe support your children with it. One of my students will work with their children with a lot of the tools too, because I know I wish I knew this when I was a kid. A great place to start with my courses is Yes, It's Yours. Yes, It's Yours teaches you how to get clear on the life that it is that you want and believe that, yes, it's yours, and then shift your identity and your habits and release any blocks or any limiting beliefs around having it so you can align to it and manifest it and attract it. And we've had so many incredible success stories, people losing weight, people manifesting large amounts of money out of the blue, people just attracting so many incredible things because they've healed their emotions around it and aligned to the life that they want. So that's a great first start. Also,
Mm.
too, I put out a lot of free content, really helpful content on my YouTube channel. So if someone's wanting to learn some, I don't put all the tools on my YouTube because some of them require a little bit more teaching around them, but I have some free like visualizations and EFT tapping and subliminal music to listen to on YouTube. So that's a great place to start as well. And then if anyone here is listening and you're a coach or you're a consultant, you're working with people and you want to help them have a subconscious shift, then I definitely recommend the Yes Apply Method certification, where you can learn how to use the tools for yourself and also to help others in your coaching.
Brilliant, brilliant. And that's just Yes Supply on YouTube and
Yeah.
on everywhere, all the social media. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except Instagram, because our Instagram's down right now.
But hopefully we'll be back up at some point.
Hopefully we'll be back up by the time this is posted. Yeah.
Joking. Okay, so anything else you want to share with the person listening?
Yeah, I would say that if somebody is listening and you're wanting to make healthier choices in your life, I think it's just really important to believe that it's possible for you. And whether you use the subconscious tools or not, let's say you decide you want to change and you're not using the subconscious tools, just know that like every small micro decision will lead you to make it easier. So maybe the first time you decide to choose a glass of water or a glass of sparkling water over a beverage, it might be a bit of, it might feel like a tough choice. It might feel like resistance, but it's simply because you're just breaking away from who you used to be and stepping into who you're meant to be, that feeling that feels more aligned. And what happens is every time we make a little decision, a little micro decision, we make those neural pathways stronger and we break away the old ones. So just trust that if you can be consistent with it for a little bit, it's going to get so easy and you won't even think about it. You'll just forget about it. You'll go about your day and be like, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about it for a whole week or a whole month. So just believe in yourself and know that if you want it, you can have it, and just expect that you can have that outcome.
Thank you so much. And
Thanks for having
so,
me.
with every episode, I ask our guests the same question. And we are coming up to a year now of the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. And so, I'm going to be
Congrats.
putting out what everyone's been saying about this one question. So, what does thriving alcohol free mean to you, Reese?
I think living your best life and being your whole authentic self, not needing a crutch, but knowing that you are whole and enough being you.
Oh, I love that answer. Well, it will be added to the selection. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I think everyone needs to say yes to themselves. That's that's the summary
That's the
of
takeaway.
today. Absolutely. Thank you so
Aw,
much for being on.
thanks for having me.
Take care. Well, thank you, Reese. It was so lovely to speak to you. Thanks for being a guest on the show. I do hope that you enjoyed that episode and maybe you'll say yes to yourself this week. Think about what is it that you've been wanting to say yes to that you haven't dared to quite go after. And if that involves stopping drinking, because life can be better in some way spiritually, mentally, physically, or emotionally, then get in touch, book a call. We will have a chat and I'd love to help you on your journey. So thank you for being here. And I can't believe we're getting to a year of this podcast being out. And I'm so excited. We're going to do something special for the 1 year anniversary in a couple of weeks, which I hope you'll enjoy. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. So have the most amazing week and I'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe so you get alerted every time I drop a new episode. I'd love it if you could rate, review, and share this episode. Feel free to tag me on Instagram at Thrive Alcohol Free and follow me for daily tips. If you would like to work with me, I offer one-to-one coaching sessions and have my group coaching program. If you're not yet ready for coaching, I also have a self-paced online course, which is a companion to my book, A Cocktail of Clarity. All the links are in the show notes. I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful week. Take care.